Oh, hello everybody. I am the MoeChicken. Welcome to my stream. It's a bit of an unplanned stream. Basically, for those that don't know, I have recently been working on an animation project. I'm trying to make another Game Grumps animated. It's while the process has been fun, it has definitely exposed to me some of the challenges with animating that I'm gonna have to address. One of which is sort of my process, which kind of front loads all the fun stuff and all the tedious stuff is at the end. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, is that I'm just having to sit down and just grind away at tracing frames. So it's kind of a negative way to start out. Basically, I'm working on it, and I knew I was going to be working on it tonight, and so I figured, hey, I'll stream it. Maybe it'll be useful for someone. If for nothing else, it might show you how not to do animations. So anyway, that's what we're doing tonight. So probably not going to be the most thrilling stream, but maybe it'll be interesting. Let's go ahead and get into it. Desktop. Let's see. I have music. I will turn on the music. Actually, before we start that, hey Cyber, let me show y'all where we're at with the animation. I'll show you the current state of it, so you can see kind of how it's coming along. Again, it's coming along pretty well. It's just it takes time. You know, it's a big process. All right, so go back to the beginning, and I will shut up so you can watch it. Here we go.
Nice. Yeah, that was clean, wasn't it? Clean as a butt that's been cleaned.
Yeah, a recently, freshly, flowery washed butt.
Oh,
Nice.
clean.
Nicely done.
Clean. Nice. Wow. That's.
No,
Yeah,
you can't get to it. You can't. Oh, you got to it.
Fuzzy fucking. What about this one?
I don't know. Yeah, you could probably get to that one.
Clean. Clean. Nice.
Click. Oh man.
Hey, I'm getting them in order too. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Primary colors, baby.
Yeah, it is nice. Damn it.
Number 4.
Clean.
Clean. Nice.
Shut up.
Dirty. Wash it.
Okay, Mike. Okay, yeah. That's kind of where we're at right now. What's left? I think there are like 3 scenes left at this point. Um, that's around the end. Uh, although just now when I was listening to it, it sounds like there was part of it that was missing. Um, but yeah, it's coming along. It's coming along. It just takes a lot of work. So that's why we're doing it tonight. Go ahead and turn the music. Let's turn that down for my knees so y'all can. Another thing, I have been trying to figure out what was up with my microphone recently and why it wasn't, as loud as it was before. I fiddled with some knobs, so hopefully it's better now. I don't know why it wasn't working before, and I don't know if it'll work now, but let me know, I guess. Yeah, so again, I'm just gonna be animating, so you can watch me do it if that's interesting. And I can answer any questions if anybody has questions about what I'm doing or how all this works or any of that, or we can just talk about other things. That's fine too. We can very easily talk about games or whatever y'all want. I'm just gonna be sitting here doing this. Oh, something I should mention too. So part of the reason that I'm trying to work on this so much recently is that there is a deadline for submissions for this. It has to be done by, or the initial draft has to be done by the 10th of September. Now, that's a bit of an issue for me because when I originally sort of planned this out, I mixed up the sort of first draft date and the final draft date. Basically hey Darkman, I'm just animating tonight, so good to see you. Welcome in. Yeah, I thought that the final date was, hang on. I thought that the first draft date was September 30th. That's the final date. And so when I found out that the first draft date is September 10th, I was like, oh no, I have much less time to do this. Well, it got worse. Turns out, my dear old dad is going to be having ankle surgery. Hey, Cornfed. He's having ankle surgery. They're trying to he has like a, I think he's got like a floating bone fragment or something in his foot. And so they're gonna try and take care of that. The downside being that, like, wow. Oh, it sounds good. That's wonderful to hear. Thank you, Cornfed. I was actually concerned about that. I was saying earlier I tried to fix it up, so I'm glad to hear that. That's wonderful. Thank you for letting me know. Anyway, yeah. So he's gonna be having surgery next week on Wednesday. And because my dad's a sort of big guy, like me, and my mom is not a very big lady, they were concerned about how they're gonna figure out to, he won't be able to put any pressure at all on the foot for like a month or so, something like that, a long time. And so they're like, how are we gonna navigate this? It's gonna be so difficult to manage. And so I said, well, why don't I come down there? I'll work from down there because my job allows me to remote work. So I'll just work from down there and I'll just help out for a while. Because, seems like the right thing to do. Well, the downside of that being, now effectively, my due date is Tuesday. Like, my first draft date went from August 10th from September 10th to August 27th. It really jumped up suddenly. And so now, at the very least, what I want to be able to deliver is a black and white version. I won't have it colored, I imagine. But if I can, at the very least, say, here's all the line work, here's all the animation parts, this will at least get you an idea of what I plan to do. And then when I get back from my parents' house, which will be like, I'll be there for a week. by the way, there won't be any stream on Thursday of this coming week or Tuesday or Thursday of the next week. I'm going to try and make sure that we've got enough videos on the regular channel up for the time that I'm gone. But yeah, I won't be able to stream if I'm at my parents' house. So y'all will be without me for a little bit. Hopefully you won't die of loneliness without me. Without my extremely engaging content. Yeah, I gotta get something done a bit faster. So we're doing that tonight. But honestly, I have actually been pretty successful at getting a lot done within this weekend. Because my parents asked me if I could come down there and help them yesterday morning. Like I had offered earlier, and then they actually sort of said, yeah, we think we are gonna need you yesterday morning. And so yesterday I like did recordings in the evening and animated all like any other time during the day. Yeah, pretty much the same thing today. I just kind of like sat around and tried to get as much done as I could. What's going on here? Hang on.
Dirt.
That's not the right audio. That's not the right audio. When does it switch? Doggone it. Thanks, Cyber. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you know, you get, like, my parents are old. They're both in their 70s. And I don't want anything bad to happen to them. Because, I mean, like, what if because of this he took a tumble? Or what if mom threw out her back trying to help him up at some point? You know, it's like I get all these, like, horrible mental images of what could happen. And I'm like, I don't want that to happen to them. And I can only be down there for a week. So I can't be there with them the whole time. What my goal is I want to be down there when he first has it, and then figure out what needs to be done so that by the time I leave, he'll feel confident about getting around. But we're really everyone in the family is really hoping that it turns out to be not as bad as we think it will be. But we won't know until we do it. So thank you, I appreciate it. I gotta figure out, where does the scene change? This audio is incorrect. Okay, that's where the scene changes. So this isn't actually supposed to be here until, like, there. Oh, I hid the audio again. Doggone it. So, the way I figured I might as well talk about my animation process. The way that I did this project is that I did all of the rough sketches and the rough animation in Procreate Dreams, which is a iPad program. Oh, before I continue, just because I'm looking at the levels and I'm concerned. You should be hearing both audio from the computer, like a song, and my voice. Is there, like, echo because it's being picked up on my mic? Let me know, because if it is, I can put on headphones. I don't like it because it's awkward for me. I don't have a good scenario, but I also want y'all to be able to have music and my voice. So let me know how that's turning out. Anyway, what was I saying? Talking about, oh yeah, how I did it. No echo for you? Excellent. Thank you, Cornfed. But can you hear the music? Is the question. There is music playing right now. It's a really pretty song too. It's the song from Bloodstained. It's Dominique's theme. Excellent, wonderful. It sounds like we got things squared away. Thank you, Cornfed. And thank you for bringing it to my attention last time that there was an issue, because I want to make sure the issues are fixed. Anyway, yeah. So, did the initial animation plus the voices in your head. Oh well, I can't help you with that, but I'm glad to hear that you're not alone in your head. I did the original animation on Procreate Dreams, and then I tried to transfer everything to my desktop so that I could do it here. And it was not without issues. The main of which is that a lot of the audio got out of place. Let's see. Okay. Bump that over there. So let's see. I'm gonna shut up some for a second.
Unclean.
Okay, that's when he says unclean. This actually needs to scoot over a little bit.
Unclean. Oh.
Okay, too early. Dang it. Okay, go.
Unclean.
Okay. Delay the audio a little bit more.
Unclean. Oh, dirty. Wash it.
Another thing that's a little frustrating is that the way that the like you might have noticed when we were watching it earlier that parts of the animation felt kind of choppy. That's because of the way Clip Studio renders animation. Here, I'll show you what it should be looking like. Give me a sec. Animation, playback settings, render before starting playback. Okay, so it's actually going to render first. It's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. It's really thinking about it. Oh my gosh. This is our rendering. Look at it go. Oh, it's like 1,000 frames. Admittedly, I haven't had to draw 1,000 frames. I was able to duplicate a lot, but I think the actual frame we're up to, yeah, 434. So. Come on. Come on, render. You can do it. I don't even want you to render the whole thing.
Unclean. Oh, dirty. Wash it.
Yes, it
Gotta wash
it
my
like
hands.
works better than it should be. But it creates little problems because that wasn't the issue on Procreate Dreams. Procreate Dreams, I guess maybe Procreate Dreams is a simpler program or something, and so it doesn't run into these same issues, which is great for, you know, the initial draft, but it's a little unfortunate in this instance. All right, let me actually get on to the work. Okay, so next scene, gotta draw Dan. Gotta draw Dan. Yeah, I mean, this has been a fun animation to work on. What does it do? What are you doing, computer? Because it's been kind of a challenge a little bit. For those who don't know, I've done a couple of animations that are like fan animations for online personalities, mostly Game Grumps. I did one for Brutal Moose at one point in time. And I have another one that I want to do for Ian, but I haven't really gotten around to doing it yet. Which is unfortunate because the topic of conversation, like in the animation, would have been a lot more relevant, like when I first started many moons ago, and is now completely irrelevant. So, should I ever finish it? Definitely going to be a throwback at this point. But yeah, I've done a couple of animations, and what's kind of exciting about this one is that, or what has been sort of challenging about it, this animation is going to be part of a wider collaboration between animators, that was sort of set up by the Game Grumps company. Game Grumps, I guess. The people that manage the Game Grumps Animated, they contacted myself and several other animators, and they said, do you want to be part of a collaboration project where you all make little, your own little segments, and then we kind of stitch them all together, and it becomes one big piece. And the sort of theme for it was this idea of out of context clips. So you take a some clip of Game Grumps audio, and then you try to reimagine it in a way where it is completely agnostic to the original subject matter. So you have like a Game Grumps clip that's like from Super Mario Maker, but the animation doesn't reference Super Mario Maker at all. It's just like other stuff. And people have done those before. They're Game Grumps animated with that are out of context. But for me, I'd never really done that. Well, I did and I didn't. I did that one animation about the FDS one, the one about the feline defecation seminar animation, where that doesn't reference the game they're playing. It just references what they're talking about. But the goal for this one was like to do something where, they weren't talking about dishwashing, which is what I wound up going with. They were talking about something unrelated. But I listened to the audio and I'm like, you know what? This could be about dishwashing. So I had to kind of like reimagine this audio as something else. And in my case, the audio I chose was from an episode where they were playing Clubhouse 51 games. How much does he move? Let's see. Does he move?
Clean.
Hang on. What's going on here? Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out.
Clean.
Okay, so that... Doggone it, no, we gotta go the other way. This is the thing that confuses me a lot when I'm trying to line up. This is part of the reason why I'm happy that Ed's here, is because, like, I try to actually line things up properly. It can be quite a challenge for me. Getting the mouth right. Okay, I think that's right. There we go. Okay. No, I don't really need to duplicate it. So the way I usually do animations, in terms of like how I build them, is I use a lot of duplicating. I use a lot of duplication of frames to prevent myself from having to draw things too much over and over again. I mentioned it before, this project has led me to realize some things about my process which are still not great. One of which relates to how I build it. But for right now, what I do is I will either completely redraw the frame if I feel like I need to, like I feel like the changes are significant enough that I need to change it. I will, or if it's just like let's say a hand moving or something like that, I'll just, I'll duplicate it and then just change the hand, that kind of thing. So, in this instance, I needed to redo the whole thing, though. I hope this is interesting to somebody. One thing that was sort of interesting about this collaboration process as well. As I mentioned earlier, I was one of several individuals who were asked if they wanted to take part in this. And most of the other people, not all of the other people, please just do it like the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons with the endlessly looping backgrounds. I mean, if there's one thing that animating teaches you, is it kind of makes you a little bit more forgiving for some of the shortcuts that cartoons used to take back then. Because I mean, like back in Hanna-Barbera times, they couldn't duplicate frames. You know, they had to draw everything from scratch over and over again. So like any of these scenes where it's just Dan or Aaron just standing there, they would have to draw them standing there in the same position over and over and over again. So, boy, I get it. I get it. It is not an easy thing. Anyway, yeah, what I was saying, a lot of the people that I'm collaborating with would describe themselves as professional animators. And what's been cool about this process is seeing sort of how a pro, like seeing sort of the level of like professional, you know? Like there's one person, an animator named Zebirdbrain, which is a really fun name. I think she does tutorials, if I believe, on YouTube. But her animation's awesome, super funny, and the speed with which she does it is part of what I find so impressive. Like she just cranks it out really fast. I was like, man, really wish I could go that fast. And then like another guy, Neil Pizzini, he's the guy who does, if you know the Get in the Chocolate Car animation, it was a Game Grumps animated about, is a reference to the Get in the Chocolate Car song that Space Bear did. This is deep Game Grumps lore, sorry. He did that one. He's a 3D animator. And as a result, his animation process is very different from mine. Like he was talking, I was in a Discord group call the other day where a couple of people were, you know, just sitting around working, and I was asking a bunch of questions, and he was talking about how he has like kind of a bank of character models to choose from that he like once he makes it, he can then use it again in another animation. And so he actually finished his section pretty quickly. Like he's already finished his part. It's just, I don't know, it's interesting to see how different people work. And, you know, how I could improve. I also asked questions about like what program do you use to animate in? And they gave me ideas. There's at least one person who also uses Clip Studio, so that was cool. And actually that person taught me something interesting, because I had thought that Clip Studio did not have the ability to scrub audio, which is basically here, this.
I'm clean.
You hear as I go, you can hear Dan talking. In the past, if I remember correctly, it couldn't do that. That's what's known as scrubbing audio. Which made it very hard to do any sort of animation that involved audio, especially lip syncing. And it's actually part of the reason why, for my first Game Grumps animated that I did, the Phoenix Wright one, which actually is currently the only one that's on the Game Grumps channel, I didn't include mouths because I wasn't confident that I could properly do lip sync because I couldn't scrub through the audio. And so it would basically come down to me like having the audio file open in like another program and then just like trying to figure like Goldwave or something, and trying to figure out when and where I needed to make like a mouth movement. And it didn't work very well. But yeah, this other animator, whose name I can't remember right now. Doggone it. What's his name? I'm sorry, dude. I can't remember your name right now. He taught me that apparently a recent update that Clip Studio put out, they added audio scrubbing. So I just updated my Clip Studio, and then suddenly I could audio scrub, which was super helpful. He also taught me how to bulk add files, because as I mentioned earlier, the way I did this was I did all the rough stuff in Procreate Dreams, and then moved it over frame by frame from Procreate Dreams to this, because there's no the two programs don't have a compatible file type or anything, so I just had to use what I could get. And it was kind of a pain because I was having to assign individual frames of the some 1,000 image files that I got from Procreate Dreams one by one manually, and it was very slow. And so I immediately asked people, I was like, is there a more efficient way to do this? This feels very inefficient. And he's like, yeah, there's a batch process, and you can just do it all at once, and it works super good, and it was very helpful. So just goes to show, ask questions. Maybe somebody has the answer you're looking for. I'm bad about that. That's actually, I should take that advice. I am notorious for not going out to look for answers and being like, I have to figure it out myself, or I don't have the information. Uh-oh, he lost the strap there. Oh, there we go. Onion skin. What did you call that, by the way? In case you were curious, when you show the last frame, that's what's known as an onion skin. Because it's supposed to be kind of like an overlay, like a clear onion skin. Can you train some monkeys to do the repetitive tasks? I mean, maybe. One of the things that, again, I was trying to, the other night, I was trying to do some animation, and I found myself not wanting to sit down and do it. I kept getting frustrated and getting up and trying to take breaks. I was taking way too many breaks. And after a while, I just kind of was like, okay, well, I guess I'm done for tonight. And I went for a walk, and I tried to kind of piece together why it was that I was getting so frustrated with it. Because I mean, I really like animation. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a cartoon animator because I loved cartoons. And I was like, what? So why is this such a problem? And I had the same issue with digital art in general. I was kind of getting to the point where I wasn't really finishing any digital art because I was getting so frustrated with it as I was working on it. And I think what it's come down to is that all of the interesting stuff in my current process of both digital art and animation is front-loaded. It's all up front. So taking animation as an example, all of the figuring out how I'm going to make things move, all of the actual fun putting in the motions and seeing how things will move, that's all at the beginning. All that's at the beginning. And then once all that fun work is done, I have to do what you're seeing now, which is just copying over frames, erasing stray lines, and just looking for little tiny changes here and there until I eventually have the whole thing finished. And then once that's done, I then have to go back and color everything, which I'm sure coloring is fun to some people, but I've never really gotten that into it. So basically what I realized is that the way I've set up my art process is designed to make nobody would want to do this. Nobody would want to do drudgery, as most of the end of the project. Yeah, I caught a little flack the other day on well, not, a very minor amount of flack. I think the person was just like commenting that maybe the two things aren't comparable, but I made sort of a tongue-in-cheek reference to this idea that like my poor animation process and then drawing process is analogous to something like the process of carrying a child to term, where like all the fun creative work is at the beginning, like all the excitement that's at the beginning, and then like you have to carry it around for like months and it keeps becoming more and more of a burden, and then by the end you're just like, I want this to be over with, I want this thing out of me, and then you get it out of you and you're like, oh, this is nice, and you want to make another one. So hopefully nobody's upset by that analogy, but yeah, it's just kind of the situation where like because of the way I've set it up, it's not fun at the later parts, and so the parts that I remember the best, later parts, are the not fun parts. And the same thing is true of like my regular digital drawing. You know, it's like the exciting bits are at the beginning when I'm kind of deciding on like the pose and I'm working things out and all that. That's all at the beginning, and then the later parts are inking, which I know some people are really into inking, and I kind of wish I was more into inking, but I never really, I didn't really develop an enthusiasm for inking, nor did I really develop that much of an enthusiasm for color. I like coloring more than inking, but still kind of same thing. It's still repeating the process, so to speak. So I'm kind of stuck with the situation as it is for, at the very least, this animation. But I think in the future, when I try to do my next one, because I'm sure will want to do another one, I'm going to try to change things up and see if I can't improve the way I'm doing it to make it more appealing to myself. I don't know. It's important to evaluate, you know, when things are going wrong, when, you know, your process isn't good. So oftentimes there's a way you can improve. Something you can do to make it better. Also sort of important to remind yourself of, like, you know, that you can do it. Like, that's one of the things that I have a bad habit of being self-deprecating. It's a problem that I've had for many years. And for example, when I was on the Discord that they set up for this collaboration, I was, you know, somewhat intimidated because so many of the people on there are like actual professional animators, and I was like, "What? Who am I? I'm just a putz who, you know, does crappy stunted animations. If I only done like 4, you know, it's like, why am I here?" And so, but I was still very excited about it. So when I finished my first rough draft, I wanted to share it. I was like, I want to share this. And so, I kind of like timidly asked some of the other people on the Discord, it's like, hey, does anyone want to see my rough? And they were very supportive. They're like, yeah, of course we do. We'd love to see your work. And I also, you know, I had kind of like a second objective of being like, maybe if I show my work, they'll show their work, and I can see the Game Grumps animated ahead of time. Ooh. And truth be told, that is what has happened. I've gotten to see a lot of people's animation, which has been fun. But when I put it up, I made a little self-deprecating comment. I was like, I thought I'd put up, you know, as the resident amateur, I thought I'd put up my rough animation as an extremely low bar for everyone to meet. You know, ha ha ha, I'm so terrible. That kind of behavior. Which again, it's not a great way to be. As they say, you should always be your first and best advocate. But yeah. Anyway, what was nice though was that one of the people, actually it was the same guy who, again, I wish I could remember his name, the guy who taught me about the Clip Studio stuff, he said, "Bro, your low bar is so high I could walk under it. Don't speak ill of this. This is done really well," which I thought was really nice of him. And I guess that's what I was trying to say, is that like it's important to kind of remember that like what you're doing is impressive to some people. Like take costume design. So within recent months, cheap viewers on blah 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 blah. Goodbye. Boy, two and two streams. Maybe I should set that thing up you were talking about, Cornfed. Cyclic Master MX. Nice. What a cool name. What is this thing? What's this object here? What is this? GLHF Pledge. I don't know what that is. What's it talking about? Oh yeah, costume design. So within recent months, I've become very interested in costume design. I've been working on like various costume-related things for upcoming Renaissance fairs. And what's interesting about it to me, I think it was a web link. I think it was. I mean, I saw something to the effect of, it's like, get more follows here, and I just assumed it was garbage, and so I just deleted it immediately. I don't know. I don't think that they were trying to help me in any way. I think they were probably a bot or something. But I don't know. Cyclic Master MX, if you are a fan and I just ruined that, I'm sorry. Yeah, it looked like one of those links where like a lot of the characters are like non-English characters, like they're like they're English letters, but they've got like a lot of diacritics, the little like symbols on top of letters that you see. It's not diuretics. What is that word? Is it diacritic? Yeah, I gotta look it up. All right, we're gonna learn. Hang on, we're gonna learn. Learning time. Diacritical marks, maybe? Yeah, these things. Okay, I had it right. Nice. Super cool. Oh yeah, costume stuff. So, what was kind of exciting about that whole world for me is that before I started doing it, it felt impossible. Like I had seen people at like Renaissance fairs that I've been to before, and they had these amazing costumes on, and I'm like, wow, what must it be like to just be able to say, I want to look like this and do it? It's like, wow, imagine how much like talent and effort you have to be able to do that. It must be, they must have worked their whole lives to do it. No, they just did it. I mean, they may have done it their whole lives, but the fact of the matter is like once I just started trying to do it, it was really feasible. But at the same time, before I did it, it felt incredible, And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that like it's important to remind yourself when you're working on. Oh, is this? Oh no, this isn't the one I thought it was. The song that's playing is from Skullgirls, and which, speaking of animation, that's actually a pretty cool game. If you like 2D animation, it's a fighting game where all of the characters are like really cool. Talent is only something other people have. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough how invasive those sort of mindsets are and how they just stick around. But yeah, like oftentimes it's just a matter of like, one, remembering that what you're doing when you're doing a creative thing is impressive to someone else. It's like, the problems with it because you made it. but other people see everything that's right about it. And you know, I'm not saying like be full of yourself, but like just remind yourself that like it's a balance. You know, yes, those things that you see that are wrong with it are there, but there's a lot there that's right too. I don't know. I'm just trying to help people out who maybe have the same process or problem I have of like thinking too little of what you do. Yeah, our own talents often seem trivial to ourselves, but not to others. That is a good way to put it. There's a lot of stuff that like, because we do them, we assume anyone could do them. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but that's certainly my mindset. Like, you know, I do like graphic design for work, and it's fun for me. Like it's really enjoyable thing to do for work, because I think about what I could be doing at work. You know, it's like I think about, I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but what do you expect? This is just me animating. I think about when I first started at my current job. I work at a research company. I was hired out of school to do research work. And what wound up happening is as soon as I got there, the work that I had been hired to do had been passed off to someone else, which meant that as soon as I arrived, my job was no longer there, in the sense that the project that I was supposed to work on had disappeared. So right from the start, no one knew what to do with me. They had to pay me, but they didn't know what to pay me for. And for months, maybe even a year, I was in a situation where I was just this weird guy who was just like, you know, hanging out in an office, and like sometimes people would show up and say, you know, can you look at this spreadsheet? Can you check this document for like grammar errors? Like all this little boring grunt work that was not, first of all, it wasn't what I wanted to be doing anyway, but it also wasn't even what I was hired for. And I was like, I was miserable. I was miserable at my job at first. And then just out of luck, one time someone found out that I could draw pictures. And from there, through word of mouth and through, you know, solid efforts on everyone's parts, I've been able to kind of like, yeah, good way to make you feel useless, right? It really felt awful that like I'd been hired and then, well, I'll tell you this. One of the people I was working with at the time, one of my friends who was actually one of the people that was instrumental in helping me to find better work, he said that this company has a bad habit of, the way he put it was, catching stallions and then putting them in a barn, was his way of describing what they did. They would hire people fresh out of college that were very promising and then store them away on the assumption that they would someday be useful. And it seemed like that was what was going to be my case. But then, you know, I was fortunate enough to find a way to stand out. And now the work I do is fun. Like, I really enjoy. And I enjoy it not only because I'm a better fit for art than I am proofreading documents, but also because, like, it's one of the things that, like, people that I work with, not just people that work at the company, but also like the people that we work with under contract, like our sponsors, they're so grateful for it. And like, it's this weird kind of like, really? You're that happy that I don't want to get into that. It does seem like a very strange process for hiring people, but what do I know? I'm not a company. I don't know things. I never built a company. It's just like, wow. So not only do I get to like kind of play for work, but also people are like really grateful for it, because to me it just sort of seems like I'm having fun, but to them it's like I'm communicating things that in ways that they wouldn't be able to with their resources. So I don't know, I'm rambling. Just trying to say that, like, remember the value of what you do. It may not seem like much to you at times, but it is valuable, what you're doing, you know? Whatever you're doing, it's important. Anyway, what else is going on? Yeah, you know, that's a major problem that I run into as well, especially with digital art. So as I mentioned before, I'm doing this in Clip Studio Paint. Clip Studio likes to do this thing where they have like a little launching page. I'm bringing it up. Give me a sec. Come on. They've got this launching page, and they do it. Do they not do it anymore? They may have stopped. Did they stop doing it? Tips. They used to do this thing where, like, the home page was all of these really, like, fancy pictures. Like, they would... that's not what I'm looking for. Basically, they'd show off some of the best artwork that people using their program had ever submitted. And so, like, you would see all these really fantastic pictures as soon as you start your project. Like, I'd open up my program to start doing work, and I'd see all this work that looks so much better than anything I was doing. You know, like, instantly embarrassed that I'm only able to do what I'm able to do. And the thing that I would find that I wouldn't think about was, I have no idea how long any of that took. You know? Like, I would compare my entire process of struggling and trying to figure it out and, like, working with this and that and the other to just the finished product of someone else. And I would always feel like, wow, they, you know, I don't know, like, I wouldn't think about the fact that it might have taken them, I don't know, a year to draw such and such picture. I would just see the finished project and be like, oh, they must have just sat down one day and did that in a single session. And I'm like, what can I do in a single session? Not that much. I must be terrible. You know, that was kind of the mindset. And it's so poisonous because it doesn't... First of all, it's not even close to true. And then it's just sort of foolish. And so that's one of the things that I've had to kind of, like, try to train myself to not do, is compare without reference. Like, if you compare... Who was it that said that? There's something like, you should only ever compare yourself to yourself. Because only in that way will you actually know the entire story. You know, like, if I were to compare my work now to my work then, whenever then was, I would be able to see and know how I changed, why I changed, and all of that. But if I were to compare myself to someone that I have no idea what their process was like, where they came from, any of that, it would be very difficult to kind of, like, measure anything. It's like apples and oranges. Like, you have no idea where they came from or how they did it. So it's just tough. I don't know. But at the same time, those thoughts are pervasive. You know, I don't know if it's just a creative thing, or if it's an introvert thing, or if it's just the modern stressful circumstance and the connectedness of modern day, or what, but it's hard to get over those thoughts. So, to anybody out there that might be struggling with that same problem, you know, just try to remember what's good about what you do, because there's good to it. All right, now I gotta get scratchy for this one. So let's see. Oh, dunk on it. What did I just mess up? Just mess something up. Oh, I'm on eraser. That's why I'm not laying down any ink. Come on. Oh, what else has been going on? During the times that I'm certainly no coincidence that creative people have high correlation with self-doubt and depression. Yeah. It's weird, right? Something that I heard once that I thought was kind of interesting. I think I heard this on Game Grumps, actually. They were talking about the concept of the origin of the term genius. And how the way that we frequently use the term genius nowadays is at odds with how it was originally intended to be used. And I don't know how true this is or not, but it is an interesting thought. When does something happen? No, hang on. Sorry, give me a sec. Spam this. Okay, there we go. That's something happened. What was I saying? Yeah. So, according to the Game Grumps, when they were talking about this, when the term genius was sort of first started to be used, it was in reference to this idea of another one? 2 in 1 stream. This is getting problematic. Get out of here. Goodness gracious. I wonder if something changed. Maybe I should check my, like, Twitch settings or something. Yeah, the idea was that, like, when the term was first used, it was... Uh-oh. What uh-oh? What's wrong? Something break? Am I still streaming? Everything looks fine. Why'd you say uh-oh? What uh-oh? You got me freaked out now. What happened? Oh, Scambot. Okay. I thought the stream crashed or something. Yeah, I don't know why there are more Scambots. Who knows? Anyway, yeah. Apparently, when the term first, no, it's fine. I appreciate it. I'm glad to have someone here to talk to. Again, I hope this is interesting to you. When it was first used, it was used as a term referencing this idea of a creative person having a genius. So you weren't a genius yourself, you had a genius. And a genius was a sort of like creative spirit. Think like the muses from Greek mythology. You know, this idea of like there were, how many was it? 7 muses, I think. That were like these women that would inspire people. You know, they were just like there was a different muse for each sort of artistic pursuit. Like there was one of like writing, and there was one of music making, and there's one of singing, and there's one of like sculpting and stuff like that. And they would just kind of come along and like help you. You know, they would like provide you with like inspiration, I guess. Same thing was the case of this term genius. And the idea was that if you had a genius, if a person had a genius, it wasn't so much that it was something that they had, like that was inherent to them. It was like they were being visited by something that could help them on like a short-term basis. So like when you would make something, it wasn't necessarily that you made it because it's like some part of your body, but rather that during that time that you made it, you were kind of being helped by something else. And what the grumps were talking about was how, like, that mindset of this idea of like having sort of a creative friend who can help you, who's not always there, but when they are there, they help you out, is a little bit sort of a better way for a creative person to think about it, because it kind of takes the stress off of you. You know, you don't have this sensation that you're like, because I've had this before. A friend of mine was talking about this as well. The idea of like, it's dangerous to tell creative children too much that they're like, oh, you're talented. Look what a good artist you are. Look what a good singer you are. Especially early in their life, because that creates the scenario where, like, if suddenly they feel like they're not producing that art anymore, they might start to question, well, who am I? You know, it's like, am I still worthwhile? Like, I remember there have been times when I was, you know, sort of creatively stumped, kind of, so to speak, and I was like, who even am I if I'm not drawing? Who am I if I'm not creating? You know, am I the same MoeChicken? Am I someone else? Like, have I ceased to be myself because this thing that was like a part of me, this thing that was like recognized as being an aspect of my existence, is no longer the case? So who am I? And it's an awful feeling. It creates this real stressed sensation of like, you know, if you don't keep producing, if you don't keep making more of whatever it is that was recognized as being a part of you early on, then you sort of cease to be yourself. It's not a great way to think. And so one of the things that was suggested as like an alternative to that was, don't say like, you're a great artist. Say, you made a great picture. Like, don't associate them with the creation necessarily, but rather give them credit for that they made it, and like encourage them to make more if they want to, but don't tie it to their persona. And I don't have kids. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but it makes sense. You know, from personal experience, I know that like it sucks when you start to feel like, you know, I'm not myself anymore because I can't do a drawing or something. You know, that's not fun. It sounds more healthy, yeah. And again, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it does sound like it's a healthier approach. And I've actually been talking a lot more than I expected to. So I'm gonna take off and get myself a drink. I will be right back for more animating. I guess in the meantime, I'll put this in. Hello again. Oh, sweet, it's a dancing Eevee. Nice. Understanding of geniuses is also formed by pop culture, where we get this idea of genius being smart all the time in every regard. Yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, it's tough when you become associated with like one particular thing, and you're, you know, what if that ceases to be the case anymore? Then who are you? You know, what if Einstein was dumb suddenly? Like, you know, what if What if he said something stupid? You know, is he no longer Einstein? I don't know. It's tough. And I'm not trying to blame people that, you know, I mean, it's great that a lot of, you know, parents, when their kids do impressive things, they want to compliment their kids. Great. That's nice. That's a good way to be. But it can just lead to unintended consequences. Part of the reason I don't have kids is because, well, one, I don't have anyone to have kids with. But also, I don't feel like I'm responsible enough for it yet. I'm almost 40. Anyway. Oh, we don't need to talk about serious stuff the whole time. How y'all doing tonight? Anything cool going on this weekend? Like I said earlier, my weekend's just been work, so just been working on this. Been trying to get as much of this done and as much recording done as I can.
Shit.
It's been fun. I mean, like, doing recordings for video games is kind of a weird thing, because, like, when I'm not doing it, I'm like, oh, good. Your weekend is out. Yeah. Yeah. My weekend's basically over, too. But did anything cool happen, Cornfed? Did you at least have cool things happen during your weekend? Excellent. That's good. This was actually one of the first things I came up with for this animation. This scene of, like, him. Let's let me mute it for a sec.
Oh, dirty, dirty. Wash it, wash it.
Just him, like, getting really in your face. I thought that was gonna be fun, so I'm glad I did that one. Mostly relaxing. Very nice. Relaxing's important, man. You gotta do it. You gotta take time off now and then. Otherwise, you just get too stressed and it all falls apart. And we are out of stuff. Okay. Turn the music back on. Got some lovely Radical Dreamers going on. I've been playing a lot of PS Vita recently. My friend got me into this PS Vita series called the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. Well, the series is called Legend of Heroes, and then Trails in the Sky is the one I've been playing. They're these I think they were originally released. Well, Trails in the Sky was on PSP originally. I'm playing, like, the Vita remake. But they're Falcom RPGs. And Falcom's a company that I've always kind of been curious about. They made, like, the Ys series, like the YS series. And, like, I know they've been around since, like, the 80s. Like, they're a super old company. But I feel like I never hear much from them. And I think it's because a lot of their games are quality, so they sell, but they're not, like, controversial or really high profile. So they sell kind of, like, under the radar, so to speak. Anyway, it's been good. I recommend Trails in the Sky. It's a real cute RPG. It's very straightforward, I would say. Not a whole lot of complexity so far. Like, honestly, everything is kind of peachy keen recently. You know, it's like even when there's like a struggle, it's like a relatively benign struggle. Uh-oh, hang on, where am I? I've been busy setting up an old computer with Windows XP to visit some classic games you haven't played in a while. Oh, that's great! What games are you thinking of playing on XP? I really should fix my other computer. I've told y'all before about that, how I've got, like, a fully built second PC here that was supposed to be the successor to my current PC. that doesn't work. I haven't gotten myself to sit down and try and troubleshoot it so I can fix the stupid thing and start using it. No, it's much easier to just let it sit there like a big old paperweight. What is... Okay, 869. Mostly Command and Conquer and Age of Empires. Don't think I've ever played either of those games. I've heard of both of those games, but I've never played either one. That's great, though. I like that kind of thing. If I was better at working with computers, I would really love to have an Apple Macintosh LE. See, Command and Conquer were some of my favorite games ever. Those are like RTS games, right? Like real-time strategy games. Yeah, when I was a kid, we had a Macintosh. I think it's called Macintosh LE. Is the one we had. But it was just a really old Macintosh computer. But man, they were just like, I would love to play some of those games again. They're not great games, you know. They were all like really simple games, like Sparks and Diamonds. But I don't know. I want to play them again. I want to play Kid Pix again. Like I want to play these old games again. But I don't feel confident that I could make a computer of that age work. Is it a... Oh yeah, batch process. So, for anyone out there that's curious about how this animation process works, batch process is what you're looking for. So you go here, click on this, opens up a little dialog. You say File, Import Image, Current Canvas, close without saving. Okay, it brings up the dialog, and you select all the things you want to add. So these are all the frames that were imported from Clip Studio. Choose where I start, 870. I'll go through. I'm trying to get through here. Select those, click open, and then it will start to add. It's adding in the files one by one, right there. Ironically, the old computer I'm using for XP is a Mac. Really? Oh yeah? Like an iMac or something? That's interesting. Why are you doing that? Do you mean that you've got a Mac and you're like dual booting it with like an XP boot or something else? Also, I'm eating mozzarella sticks, or like cheese sticks, like string cheese. So, sorry about that. A Mac Mini from 2010. I don't know what kind of computer that is. Google. Mac. That's probably not it, right? Oh, well, that's actually pretty close, yeah. I like the way old Macs looked. Like, I remember when Macs sort of made their comeback in like the mid to late 90s. They just looked so different, you know? They were so far removed from what am I doing? Oh yeah, sorry, I got distracted. So first you load the pictures in, and then you go up to animation, edit track, assign multiple cells, starting point, end point, go, and it'll dump them in. That's how I've been doing it, in case anyone wants to know. Hang on, what's going on here? Pause. Hang on.
Wash it. Gotta wash the hands.
Okay, no, this is right. Yes, the picture's accurate, except the old one still has a DVD drive. I don't know. I like the way those old those old Macs looked. Of course, I'm a sucker for anything that has like translucent colored plastic. It makes me sound like the most like magpie person ever. It's like, ooh, colored plastic. Ooh, it's so pretty. What can I say? I like it. I think it's pretty. It's like I remember being like really. What's going on here? That's not right. Turnip pin. I remember being really disappointed when the brightly colored the sort of recolors of the N64 came out, where they started releasing all those like brightly colored ones, and I was like, oh, I just have a crappy black one. I wish I had one of these cool ones. I just have the black one. Ugh. Silly. Just being silly. Unrelated to that, but related to video games. The song we're listening to right now, I had forgotten I had on my computer until just recently. It was like, funnily enough, the translucent plastic never resonated with you, even back in the 90s. Really? That's interesting. I liked it for some things. I just like things that are, like, colorful. And, you know, when those Macs came out, all I'd seen computers looking like were just kind of like, you know, beige boxes and stuff. And so they were like suddenly bright and colorful and interesting to look at. It's like, oh, so cool. I mean, I've only ever known one person who had one of those like iMacs, and I don't even really think he liked the computer that much. It was just the one he had. But I don't know. It's pretty. They're supposed to be. Okay, there they are. Well, I hope that your work on the computer works out well, Cornfed. I think it's super cool that people, you know, take on projects like that and are like, yeah, I'm gonna figure out how this will sound super boring, but as a kid I was really drawn to things that look professional corporate. No, it's fine. You know, I would say that, like, that was how I felt about I could never figure out, or for a long time I couldn't figure out what it was that I liked about this, but I realized it when I went to Disneyland, or Disney World, a couple of years back, and we went to the Galaxy's Edge, and I was comparing in my mind, like, I had always felt like the way that the first 3 Star Wars movies looked, there was something I liked about it, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And when I went to Galaxy's Edge and I saw like all of these structures in real life, I realized it is kind of that sort of like boxy kind of retro futurism that really resonates with me. Like, I think about things like speedometers on old cars, you know, like when I was growing up, my mom was a music teacher, and as a result, unsurprisingly, she had friends at school, and sometimes we had like kind of a deal with one of the other teachers where this other teacher would carpool me to school some days. And this lady had an old car, some kind of like sedan, but it had this like really cool retro futuristic speedometer that, like, it was sort of like a kind of looked like that sort of, and like as you got faster it would like put these little bars in here and it would just kind of like fill up, and it looked so cool. I was like, oh, look at this cool speedometer. Or like, you know, like when speedometers used to be kind of like amber colored instead of like green or whatever. It's just like, oh, it's so cool. So, I mean, I get it. Or like when that game Alien Isolation. It's a little bit old now, but the designers of that game made a lot of effort to make all of the environments look authentic to kind of like the fancy instruments. Yeah. They wanted to make it look authentic to the original Aliens movies, and so everything has this kind of like retro futurism look, where it's like it looks old, but it also looks new, and that's so cool. So I get it. Actually, speaking of retro tech, every once in a while I will go into Brutal Moose's retro tech Discord, and people will be sharing like old radios and all this old stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how any of this works, but it sure looks cool. Very lived in. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. I guess it's kind of the same thing that, like, I've heard people complaining about that idea of like the space barn design style, and like how people are kind of rejecting the space barn design style that I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it, but from what I understand, it's a sort of like design philosophy that a lot of house flippers have been into recently, because it's very like inoffensive, and it kind of it's focused on this idea of like a very clean. What is going on here? Okay, I don't know what happened there. It has like a very I should save. Whenever something weird happens, I should save. Save immediately. Did I do it? Okay. Yeah, it has kind of like a clean, sort of sterile look about it, that lends itself to the idea of a house that you might be trying to sell. Yeah, lowest common denominator. It has kind of like a hospital feel to it, and I mean, there's something to be said for that. Like, there's a house near where I live that's like, it's extremely boxy, and it's just black and white on the outside, and it looks very futuristic, and I have to assume that everything inside there also looks futuristic. And there's something to be said for that, I think. But it doesn't feel like somewhere someone lives. It feels like a museum. You know, kind of. Have you ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off? In Ferris Bueller's Day Off, his friend Cameron, at one point, I think Ferris describes Cameron's house as feeling like a museum, because it's very clean and it's very cold, and it's filled with beautiful things that you can't touch. And I think that's sort of what the kind of like Space Barney, not Space Barney. I love you, you love me, we're going into orbit. Frenicus, whose house was always super clean. Yeah, I mean, it has its place, but I just, you know, here's the thing. There was a I had a friend when I was younger who had they had a guest bathroom that I used to joke was the fancy bathroom, and I was like, I can't use the fancy bathroom, I have to go to the other bathroom. Like, no matter how many times she told me it was fine to use that bathroom, I was like, nope, it's the fancy one, I can't use the fancy bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom in the garage. Which was the nearest bathroom other than the fancy bathroom. And I, like, my family's never had anything like that. We didn't have like even have a guest room, you know? We just had lived-in rooms. And so maybe it just sort of feels like, that's kind of more my vibe. I would prefer to have like a bunch of stuff everywhere and show that like I live here. You know, these are the things that I enjoy. This is my room, and I do the same thing at work too. I'm a nester. You know, it's like I bring stuff in and put stuff all over my desk, and like I'll go there on the weekends sometimes, and I'll eat lunch at my desk and all that stuff. It's like I'm definitely the kind of person who will put a bunch of stuff in an area that is mine because I'm like, this is my space. I want to put all my stuff here. So, just different philosophies, I guess. As a kid, we had a fancy dining room, which was only for when the parents had guests. Never liked being in there. Yeah, I guess we did have a dining room that we never used. That is true. We had a dining room that was never used for much of anything. It's still not actually used for much of anything. I think my parents use it for like Thanksgiving and maybe like Christmas, and that's it. And I use it for whenever I go down there if I have to work. You know, it's like that's my work room because I know that nothing is ever going on in there. And again, not trying to dump on people that like, you know, cleaner spaces. That's fine. That's you. You know, if you like that. For me, you know, I think about like the house from Legend of Mana. Let me get a visual reference. Let's see. Images. Legend of Mana. Yeah. Like this. Look at how much stuff is in this room. There's stuff on the floor. There's like knickknacks on the tables. There's like all kinds of stuff. This is more akin to how I think of a house being like. You know? It's like, yeah, it's dirty, but it's also like homey, you know? It's like people live here. This is a used space. I like that. That's for me. By contrast, one of my close friends for many years, I haven't visited his house in a while, but he bought a back before the pandemic. I think he got it in like, I was expressing one's personality. Yeah. I think he bought his house in like 2017, something like that. He had just gotten a new job, and he's like, I want to get a house so I can begin building equity. And honestly, in retrospect, I kind of wish I'd done the same thing, but I didn't take the plunge. Because he's got a house now, and I don't. And they're more expensive than ever. Anyway. So he bought himself what was kind of like the nicest house he could, reasonably afford at the time, which was a 5-bedroom house. He was the only one that was living there, him and his 2 cats. And so whenever I would go over to his house, it was just sort of like mostly empty. You know, like the walls were white. Most of the rooms had no furniture. You could always tell which rooms he actually spent time in because they were the only ones where there was anything in them. And it was just sort of like a big empty space. And I remember saying, it's like, why don't you put anything in here? He says, well, it's because I don't want to have to clean it. You know, it's like I don't have any use for that. Maybe I will in the future, but not right now. So why bother? Definitely would not. Yeah. I mean, that was my rationale back when we were talking about this. I was like, I don't need a house because I don't have that much. You know, I don't have that much stuff. Why do I need to move out of my apartment if my current apartment's big enough? But I don't know, man. There's something to be said for having an actual like piece of property that's like yours, you know? That's exciting. I wanna have a house someday. But not necessarily because, well, the thing I know would happen with me is that if I got a big house, I would garner more stuff to fill the space. My stuff would expand to fill that spot, I'm sure. I'm sure I could find junk to put around. I don't know. Hopefully I'll have a house someday. Adds a lot of responsibility. Yeah, it's true. Can also feel a lot more lonely if you're alone, and I am alone, so. Like, there have been times when I've been down visiting my parents, and you know they go to bed earlier than I do, and so like I'll be in the late evening, and I'll be kind of walking around the house and I'll be like, oh, what a beautiful house. I'm so alone. Yeah, it's like, I wish my parents were here because I feel very lonely in this big quiet space. I guess I don't feel it that often at my parents' house, but oh, that's weird. It's so expensive. It's all so expensive. And yet I spend all kinds of money on video games, so it's that strange disconnect between you know, our willingness to spend on our hobbies as compared to our willingness to spend on things that are like responsible purchases and stuff. You know, it's like if I had not spent so much money on video games all my life, imagine how much money I would have now. You know? Build a house out of video game cases. There you go. That's the solution. Easy peasy. Actually, again, on the subject of that same friend, the guy who bought the 5-bedroom house, he's always been a very practical guy. And when we were in high school, I used to think he was like super duper rich because he had so many games. I was like, man, you have so many video games. That is true. That is true. Hey, Eden, welcome. Welcome to my TED Talk about life. My unintentional TED Talk about life. What is it doing? What's going on here? Is my... Oh, did it... It didn't die, did it? Okay, no, it's fine. Sorry, I've got this little, like... How would you describe it? It's called an EK remote. It's a, it's like a little auxiliary thing you can buy to help you with, like, computer tablets like this. It's basically just a collection of shortcuts. It's like a little thing that you can add shortcuts to make drawing easier. And just now it was acting very strangely. Anyway, yeah, that friend. So when I was in high school, I used to think, oh, he's so rich because he's got so many games. And I was like, man, it must be nice to have so much money. So that, like, I was being jealous. And I was like, oh, it must be nice to have so much money so you can buy all these. He said, I don't have a lot of money. I said, well, how do you have so many games? He said, well, I worked it out one day. When I was in school, I would buy like a soda for lunch every day. And one day I was thinking about my finances and I was like, you know what? I bet if I stopped having a Coke at lunch every day and just had water, I could save a lot of money and then use that for other things. And so he just stopped drinking sodas at lunch and started saving that money up and bought video games with it. And it's just such a great example of, mind over matter and being like, I can overcome the immediate desire for a soda and have something I want much more in the future. And I was like, wow, you're such an adult. That's not me, man. I want that Coke. I want that Coke for lunch because that happens now. And wouldn't you know it, I have stomach problems as a result. Which are not as bad as they used to be. So that's something. Did that with cigarettes? Used to smoke a lot. Yeah, I've heard that too. Like I remember one time Dan Avedon from Game Grumps was talking about when he stopped doing drugs. Like he stopped doing marijuana. He's like, the first thing you notice is that suddenly you have like way more money, than you realized. Like all of a sudden you have like this huge amount of disposable income that you didn't realize. Yeah, I get it. Good on you for recognizing that. It's not always easy to notice. It can be very hard to realize how you're wasting your money. There's so many frames in this one scene. Because I have this water thing. This is supposed to be water, by the way. Hopefully that's recognizable. But in order to really make it look like running water, I needed every single frame to be different. And so it's just like this weird mess. Ugh. Fortunately, it is just kind of a mess, so it doesn't have to be very precise. A bunch of weird shapes. Also, congratulations on not smoking. That's not easy to get over. My dad was a smoker when I was growing up. Actually, it was through my sister's efforts that he stopped smoking, because she just harassed him so much. In the end, she annoyed him until he stopped smoking, which is honestly exactly how it worked. She just every time he lit up a cigarette, she'd bug him about it every single time. And after a while, it sank in, and he's like, I'm so sick of my daughter constantly berating me about smoking in your 20s and your teens. It's a hard thing to overcome. You know, like I struggle with sodas. That's always been my downfall. I have one right now, you know. It's hard to overcome an addiction, but especially a chemical addiction. You know, soda's at least not like chemically addictive, but cigarettes are actually chemically addictive. Good for you. Good for anyone who overcomes something like that. Once you decide, that's a very like, you just decided you're like, this is pointless, and you just stopped it. That's impressive, dude. That's not an easy, like, that, ability to like just rationally say, this is pointless, I'm going to stop, is impressive. I can't do that. I would have backslid immediately. So, good on you, man. Home from MLP D&D. Huh? You just realized your incredible strength of will, Cornvet. What is MLP D&D? Like D&D, I assume, is Dungeons and Dragons, but what's MLP? More long play? Oh, My Little Pony D&D? Is that a thing? Is there My Little Pony Dungeons and Dragons? That's really funny if that's the case. I've never heard of that. Well, you know, I actually have heard of, like, was it like Cutie Marks and Dragons? I feel like I've seen that before. So, is it just like, I mean, is it actually D&D? Is it like you go into like dungeons and stuff? Or is it just sort of role-playing My Little Pony stuff? You actually go into dungeons. What class is your pony? Please, I have to know. I have to know about your fantasy pony now. It's fascinating. We want an adventure to rescue another pony. Oh, that sounds like so much fun. I like that. Oh my my gosh, this music is so good. I want to play Bloodstained again. I know I want to play Bloodstained again. But I just haven't given myself the opportunity to do it. It's a little different than actual D&D. Okay, how's it different? What's different about it? I'm gonna grill you about your hobby here now. I was listening back to my original stream playthrough of Bloodstained, and man, I was having fun with that game. Like, I was having fun with that game in a way that, like, I don't know that I've had that much fun on stream before or since, honestly. I really enjoyed playing Bloodstained on stream. You have classes that are laughter, loyalty, generosity, honesty, and 2 others. Oh, okay. So I assume that, like, depending on your class, though, it gives you, like, different capabilities during... Is there combat? Do you have combat in it? Or is it really more like... really more like role-playing? There is combat. Wow. Okay. What sort of things do you face off against as a pony? Are you fighting like orcs and kobolds, or are you fighting like the smooths? As I've heard it, you can't escape it. You can't escape it. You don't know what to do. Nothing can stop the smooths. My pony can converse with animals with a specialty in mythical creatures. Oh, okay. Neat. I feel like a talking pony is already kind of a mythical creature. Nice. So I haven't played too terribly much D&D. I played it back in high school, but back then it was really more an excuse just to hang out with friends, honestly. Like, we did play D&D, like we did adventures. You only fight creatures in the pony world. Okay. And I remember my character was a dwarven fighter named Rurik Strachan. And he was as dwarven fighter as you can be. He was a dude, he had an axe, he had armor, and he hit stuff. And I didn't want any more finesse than that. Really, all I wanted to do was I wanted to go into dungeons and fight monsters. And it's funny too, because, like, you know, my other friends were like, I want to have like a mage, and I want to have all these spells, and I want to like maximize my efficiency and this, that, and the other. And it's like, I just want to like roll dice and hit things. That sounds fun. I don't know. It's just sort of funny how different people's perspectives on what D&D should be like are. Like, I've tried to play it again since then, but usually what winds up happening is that the groups that I join up with always want to do all of the complicated stuff. They're like, we got to have lots of intense role playing and intrigue and like mysteries and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. Can't you just give me a dungeon so I can fight kobolds? Fighting is made easier in that you usually don't have weapons and armor, but have health and use your hooves. Your hooves. Interesting. That's really cool. I think the idea of tabletop gaming is really fascinating. You know, unsurprisingly, it's probably because I like video games, but I like thinking of it in that sense of you know, tabletop gaming is a means to collectively tell a story. Wait, what's going on here? Oh, this is messed up too. Doggone it. That idea of like role-playing as collective storytelling. I like that. I like that mindset. I didn't really finish the. You ever watch the show web show Adventure is Nigh? It's basically a D&D campaign with people. No, I haven't actually. What is it on? Where do you watch it? Is it a YouTube thing or a streaming service thing? I've heard that they're like you or D&D podcasts are, super popular, but I never really tried any of them. I don't really do podcasts very much.
Clean. Nice. Clean. Nice. Clean. Clean.
Used to be on The Escapist? Oh, okay. I used to hang out on The Escapist a lot. I liked Zero Punctuation a lot.
Clean. Nice.
There we go. Oh, Yahtzee's one of the players. I have not watched Yahtzee in a long time. What was I talking about that? I was talking about oh, it was when we were playing Princess Peach the other day, and I mentioned the fact that there was that The Art of Thievery game he made. I liked a lot of his stuff back in the day. Honestly, I think part of what turned me off of his stuff really was just that, like, I'm not usually that into modern games, and unsurprisingly, he continued to talk about modern games. So I was like, I don't really care anymore. Did I finish the thought about Skullgirls? That's what this song is from. Pretty good fighting game. It's one of those more like technical fighting games, I guess you'd say, that were popular for a while. Stuff like Blaze Blue, but they it's like very animated, and it's super fun to look at. I'll show you find some pictures from it. Oh no, here I've got pictures on my computer. Let's see. The style of it was really cool. Oh wait, do I not have it anymore? I may have gotten rid of it. Fudge. Yeah, it's not here anymore. That's... Let me see if I can take some off. Google. Okay. Skullgirls. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, see, they're like, I don't know, it's cool. And it's all set in like this kind of like fictional 1940s kind of world that's like it's got like fantastical elements, but it's also got like a lot of stuff from that time period. It's cool. I like it a lot. The music's also really good, which helps. Skullgirls. Check it out. Check it out sometime if you like that kind of thing. Y'all, we've actually gotten a lot done during this. I appreciate y'all coming out and just kind of hanging out with me while I work on this. It definitely helps to have someone to talk to. It keeps me from getting up and going to do something else, which is the big challenge. Being, giving myself an out and saying like, oh, I've done enough for tonight. Nope. Nose the grindstone or else you're not going to get it done. Gotta go home to help old Pops. I'm glad to hear it. I'm trying. I definitely developed my streaming style based on Ian's, that mindset of like just kind of playing a game and being kind of just chatting, talking. I wouldn't say anything about my streams is hype or memey. That kind of stuff is interesting to me. Like, there's another streamer that I watch that he actually does a very good job with, like, being more modern than I am with stuff, but I don't know. It's not interesting to me. I don't want to do that. I'd rather go at my own pace, as it were. He is also more successful than I am. So, there's that. But, this isn't my job. This is for fun. I got some Chrono Trigger music going on right now. You know something about Chrono Trigger's music specifically, that I would love to hear is, you know, because, so, Chrono Trigger has been one of my favorite games for many years. For many years, I would have said, whenever I just randomly tune into some stream on Twitch, I immediately get over, yeah. That exactly there is why I stopped watching, Jeff Space Hamster's streams. And I don't blame him for doing what he's doing. He's obviously very successful about it. He knows his audience better than I know his audience. But like, it's overwhelming. And it feels, when you have too much like meme stuff going on, it feels very like like superficial, maybe would be a way I would put it. Like there's a Discord that I'm involved with that does a lot of like GIFs, like little animated GIFs and memes and stuff. And you know, they like it, great. But to me, I just kind of get overwhelmed with it. I'm sort of like, I don't know what these are referencing, and it's kind of exhausting to me. Again, kind of going along with Ian's mindset of like, I don't want memes. I don't want that. It just sort of feels like disposable somehow. And I'm not interested in that. So, I'm glad that, you know, glad that Ian's Discord is not, yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, especially, you know, in a more connected society, which is how we live nowadays, we seek to find a familiar language. You know, it's like we seek to find a familiar language in the sense of our communication with others. And in the absence of having shared, like, in-person experiences, we develop some other means of communicating, and oftentimes it is memes, and it is associated fandoms. You know, it's like we want to find our people, and we can't do that physically anymore. You know, you used to be able to like walk out your door and your people were out there. Nowadays they're online. They might be in, like, some of y'all are in Ohio, and I'm really talking about Mexican street corn last week, and it's amazing if you have not had it. You know, I never have had it. Was it good? I think I'll take that as a fine topic change from me being serious. Where were you that you were eating Mexican street corn? And what was it like? Was it like corn? I wouldn't be surprised if it was like corn. They used to serve, like I remember growing up, I would go to the flea market on the weekends because that's where you could find old video games for cheaper. And right there in the front of the flea market was a little stall where they always were selling the grilled corn. Like corn, but with street smarts. This corn grew up on the streets, man. Chili's randomly, and yes, it's corn in the cup with spike. Cheese? Ooh. You mentioned cheese, and I always get excited. I love cheese. I love the idea of street smart corn. What's going on here? Come on, thing, work. There we go. Y'all, I might have to start playing Bloodstained again. Just listening to the music makes me miss it too much. I wish I could get Bloodstained on my my Vita, but it's not on Vita. Unfortunately. Such a good game, though. Look at this face. Look at Dan's face here. One of the fun things about doing animation is that, like, is getting to see those intermediate frames now and then that are like really fun. Sometimes they're super good. You still haven't told me where you got this street corn, Eden. Were you at the Street Corn Emporium? Was it like a food truck? Do you know, I don't think I've ever eaten out of a food truck. I feel as though you were at Chili's? Did they go outside to get the street corn? Because it sounds like the corn wasn't on the street, it was in the Chili's. This looks terrible. Go back. It's on the restaurant menu. They better have gotten it from outside, or it's not authentic. Chili's. Chili's, baby back ribs. I want my baby back, baby back, ribs. I want my baby back, ribs. I get it, Eden. I'm joking with you. I understand that it's just called Mexican street corn. I haven't been to a Chili's in a long time. Ow, back on it. Hey. That was your first time having corn or first time going to Chili's? Excellent chips and salsa. You know a place that used to have going to Chili's? Well, okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Both? Really? Excellent. Wunderbar. Wunderbar. Shoot, what was I gonna say? I've got a brain like a sieve. What was I gonna say? Fudge. We are almost to the last scene. I'm so excited that we are almost to the last scene. Ooh, this is a good one. This song is a good one. So this, I first heard this song in undergraduate. I don't remember I think the song is the original name of the song was just Bloody Tears. That was back when I was still in my habit of changing the names of every song. So on my computer it's called Curse, but it is a reference to the famous Castlevania song Bloody Tears from Castlevania 2. But what was so cool about it, this song is from a like a, I guess, a fan collection of Castlevania remixes, and it's so far, like, you can, if you know the song Bloody Tears, which is the da 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 da, that song, if you know that song and you listen to this, you can hear the reference to it, but it's just like really subtle, and that's cool. I'm actually gonna shut up so y'all can hear it. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. That's basically all of it. It's... I know it's probably not for everybody. I think what I like so much about it is that, I don't know if this is something just because, you know, I got cartoons on the brain or what, but there are a lot of times where I'll hear a song, particularly a video game song, and I'll kind of like in my head build an animation to go with it, you know? Like I'll think about the song and kind of it will turn into sort of like visuals in my head. And that song that we just heard, which I can't hear any music right now. Playing? Oh, that's right. It's got a long out lead out. Right, next song. That song I think is probably one of the first times that I can recall doing that sort of like building a sort of a sequence to go along with it. And I really like it. Like one that I've got right now that I would like to do at some point, but it's going to be like a full animation and it's probably going to take a while. Plus I won't be able to make any money off it because the song would be a copyrighted song, so I wouldn't be able to do anything with it, but it would be cool. Hang on. Oh, here. No, it's there. There is a song by the band the Foo Fighters called The Pretender. I learned about this song from Beat Saber. There was a pack that released that had this song on it. And the song is really cool, first of all. It's just like it's a great song for Beat Saber specifically because it's so like, it's a really intense song. It's an FU kind of song where you're like, as you're listening to it, you're just like, I want to punch somebody, that kind of song. So it's a great song for like exercising. But as I was listening to it, when I was doing Beat Saber, my brain kept going back to this animation idea about like Castlevania, and without really going into the themes of the song or the lyrics of the song too much, the lyrics have kind of like an undercurrent of this idea of the singer is speaking to someone that they are describing as the pretender, as someone who has sought to like subvert their efforts and such. And I took it in more of a literal sense of the pretender in this instance would be the Castlevania Dracula. And the song is sort of like Simon Belmont or Trevor, or whoever I decided I wanted to use, rejecting the view of the world that Dracula presents, for example, in Symphony of the Night, when he's talking about how like you know, men are kind of or humans are kind of like sheep, and that sort of thing. And like at the time, Richter is sort of like, you know, you steal men's souls, the world doesn't need you. And I really want to do that animation sometime, but I just know that it's going to be so hard to do. I know it's going to be so hard to do. If I ever decide to do it, maybe I'll show y'all some of the process of my doing it, because it will probably take a while. But do y'all do that? Like when you're listening to like a song or something, do you sometimes like make up a little like a little music video in your head or something that's like not necessarily related to the song, or maybe it is and you just kind of want to like make your own version? So I do that with a lot of songs. And it's fun. It's a fun thing to do. Okay, where are we right now? I'll go ahead and finish this scene out, and then that'll be all for tonight. And again, thank y'all for spending some time with me and helping me to finish as much of this as I can. For me, it's more that music triggers a lot of memories. Oh, okay. So it like brings you back to points in your life when maybe you heard the song or something like that. I could see that. I'm that way a lot about video games. Video games will bring me back to specific points in my life. Like Chrono Trigger, for example, which is what we're listening to right now. And I'll kind of remember where I was when this was important, or like what my life was like at the time. I've heard people do that with like smells and such as well. It's so strange how the brain works. Sometimes not that specific, but more the mood of it. Yeah, I get that. I gotta get back to playing Legacy of the Rudra. I want to beat it at some point, but it's just gonna take a while. It's like there are other RPGs that I want to play, but gotta get through the one we're on right now first. If I don't hold myself to some sort of standard, I will open all of the cans of worms, and we will never finish anything. That's not good. I never did go back and finish Dragon Quest Builders 2 either. I feel like I remember most of the series that I've done that I started but I didn't finish. They always make me feel bad. I don't know if you're like me, but I can't stand when I'm watching like a game playthrough and then the person doesn't finish it. It bugs me. Like I want to know how it ends. There's something nice about that sense of completeness. But, I mean, sometimes it's a practical thing, but I don't know. I want to see what happens. That's why I try and beat as many games as I can when I start them. I don't always succeed, but I think I usually do. Eventually. Especially if it's during, yeah. Well, I will do my best to not let that happen. Try to finish things as much as I can. I think right now, in terms of the series that I started but didn't finish on my YouTube, it's Gitaroo Man, Echo the Dolphin, and Super Adventure Island, or Adventure Island 2. I think those are the only three that I never finished. Echo because it was a game I had never played before, so I didn't know what I was going into. Gitaroo Man because I'm just not good enough to beat it. And Adventure Island because I think I just need to give it another shot, honestly. I think I probably could beat it if I gave it another try, but... Alright. Scene done. So pretty much at this point, there's only 2 more scenes in the sense that, like... Well, I'll show you. But... Gotta get rid of the old ones first. I was musing the other day on the idea of what makes something a masterpiece. I feel like it's very easy to toss around the concept of masterpiece, but at the same time, there should be a way to define what makes something a masterpiece. I bring it up because, like, we're listening to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which I think some people would probably regard as a masterpiece. And I just sort of find myself wondering, where does the concept of masterpiece really begin? What makes something a masterpiece? And I don't know. Ah, crap. What frame was I on? Let's figure it out from this. I also think that masterpiece is something of a subjective term, so what is a masterpiece for one person could very well not be a masterpiece for someone else. Okay. You know, it's when I see these guys from the side like this, I'm reminded of the fact that they don't have noses. I don't know why I don't draw noses. I just don't draw noses. I got a big old honking nose. You'd think I'd be more receptive to the idea of having a nose, but I never draw noses. Alright, good night, Eden. We're almost done here. Thanks for coming out. I'll be back on Tuesday with probably more Legacy of the Rudra. So I want to make sure y'all at least have one stream next week before I have to leave. Night, Cornfed. Everybody's taking off. I'll probably be done soon too. I'm gonna add these in. That's what we got left. I think I can probably finish that. Not tonight, but I think I can probably finish it. Let's see. Let's go ahead and see it real quick. Let it render the whole thing. Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, that was clean, wasn't it? Clean as a butt that's been cleaned.
Yeah, a recently, freshly, flowery washed butt.
Oh,
Nice.
Clean.
Nicely done.
Clean. Nice.
Wow, that's. No, you can't get to it. You can't. Oh, you got to it.
fuzzy fucking. What about this one?
I don't know. Yeah, you can probably get to that one.
Clean. Clean. Nice.
Oh man.
Hey, I'm getting them in order too. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Primary colors, baby.
That is nice. Damn it.
Number 4.
Clean.
Clean. Nice.
Shut up. Unclean.
Oh, dirty. Dirty. Wash it. Wash it. Gotta wash the hands. Clean. Nice.
Oh. No.
All right, that's the end of it. All right, stop. Cool. All right, y'all. Once again, thank y'all for coming out. Appreciate it. Hope this was entertaining. Hope this was maybe helpful for somebody that was maybe interested in doing animation too. Maybe seeing someone else's process benefits you in some way. But that is all for tonight. I will be back on Tuesday. I will see you then. I am MoeChicken. This has been animation. Me working on animation. Thanks for stopping by.